Hey guys, just want to do a little recap on my trip to Costa Rica this past January 2022. I'm going to teach you a couple tricks on how to save money, what activities are cool, and pretty much just an overview of my entire stay there. So, to begin the trip, I bought the ticket for $303. I bought it through Expedia. A couple months before I had to go, my date was January, or I was there from January 11th to January 20th. So I think I bought the ticket back in October. From there, I decided to stay in multiple different parts of the country. I flew into San Jose, the airport in the central part of the country, in the capital, because it's easier to maneuver from there than it is Liberia, which is in the northwest, and it's a little cheaper as well. So I paid for a car, $300 through Expedia, and it was supposed to be for 8 days, 8 nights, and it included insurance and everything. Unfortunately, that seems to be a common scam they play in Costa Rica. So once I get to the car rental place, they try charging me an extra $700 for mandatory insurance, mandatory, and another $500 for the deposit, which I expected that, but that was $1,200 to come up with. And this is 7 in the morning, keep in mind. They try and stick me with a manual car, which of course I cannot drive that. I'm from the US, we use automatics here, and I couldn't do it. So I told them, like, I got to cancel this. I lost the $300, of course. They never responded to Expedia when I tried to claim that my reservation was never, I never was provided with what my reservation details were supposed to be for. It was supposed to be an automatic four-door sedan, and they tried to stick me with a four-door manual. So they ignored Expedia. I called every day for about a month. They pretty much gave me some bogus excuse like they always do. So that almost ruined my trip, actually. And from there, the nice guy at the desk got me a taxi for $200. And so I had to spend $200 to go 3 hours up north to La Fortuna, which is where the beginning of my trip was. And I stayed at the Arenal Volcano Inn while I was up there. It was about $100 a night, right on the outskirts of the city. It was a great hotel. The staff was very friendly. Breakfast was pretty good. Getting in and out of the city wasn't super quick, but it was about 10, 15 minutes. So it was a good place to stay. And when I was up there, I went canyon rappelling or waterfall rappelling for about $129. That was a great experience. I met a bunch of friends on that trip, and it was amazing.
Listo.
From there, another thing you should also consider doing is the hanging bridges, and that's what I did. And I did it with a tour guide because he told me about all the different snakes, all the different animals, plants, and everything like that. And I really appreciated that. It was really cool. Good use of time. Recommend doing that. That was for about $80, including a $10 tip. So not too expensive, but not cheap. And from there, I decided to go to Manuel Antonio, which is on the west coast. And I decided no more taxis. The taxi that had brought me up there had offered to take me down there for $300. Of course, I wasn't going to do that. So I got a shuttle service for $49. That was a brutal, brutal drive. It was about 7 hours to get down to Manuel Antonio. So I don't know if I recommend that or not. Maybe it might be better to stop in Haco on the way. Once I got down to Manuel Antonio, I stayed at the Falls Resort for about $140 a night. Not really much of a resort, but it was a nice hotel. They had great food. The location was at the top of a hill overlooking the town Capos, and you got a great view of the ocean. The only problem with that is it's kind of isolated. Thankfully, there's this hostel called Selena, and you'll probably see them if you're in Costa Rica and you're a foreigner that's young, because a lot of the foreigners will go hang out at this hostel. It usually is pretty cool. I went up to the one in La Fortuna, so this one was right next door. I decided to go there. They had a pool. Other foreigners were there, so that was cool. While I was in Manuel Antonio, the only thing I really did was go do these Mangrove kayaking tour, which was cool, but it was all right. I wouldn't. If you have the time, I would suggest doing it, but I blew off going to the Manuel Antonio National Park, and apparently that's the thing to do. The kayaking was about $80, including the $10 tip. So then from there, I decided to take a bus to Haco for like $3. So the buses are definitely a cheap way to get from place to place on the coast. So I took a $3 bus ride. Unfortunately, I overstayed on the bus. So if you're not fluent in Spanish, you need to be careful about getting off because no one's going to say anything. There's no indication of where you should get off. I ended up going up into like this small little part of town that was much past Haco, like 30 minutes past Haco. Kind of a little concerning, but the people were nice. It was safe. So this is a little problem. I accidentally fell asleep on the bus, and I'm like an hour past Jaco now in a really non-touristy area. Got my bags and everything. Definitely standing out. Ended up getting to my hotel called the Tangerie Hotel, which is right there on the beach in Haco. And that was about a little bit more than $100 a night. It was the best hotel I'd stayed at while I was there. The staff was so friendly. I literally hung out with the staff every single night. They were extremely friendly. They had really good food there. It was right on the beach, so it was beautiful. And while I was there in Haco, there's pretty much it's like a bar scene slash, beach scene. So there are things to do there, but not a whole lot compared to like being in La Fortuna, in my opinion. What I did was I went surfing on the beach. So I had surf lessons for about $45, and that included the board rental for like 2 hours. And let me find the name of that guy. I did it with this guy named Andre, who has this school called Professional Surf Lessons. Here's the Instagram. And he was a great guy. He was really cool. Showed me how to surf pretty quickly, so that was awesome. And that pretty much was the end of my trip from there, unfortunately. I had to go back to San Jose, and I took a bus there, which was about $6 for a couple hours, so that was a really good bang for your buck. And by this point in my trip, I had started to use Uber a lot more. Uber is technically illegal down there, but they have them, and people will still do Uber. So highly recommend. That'll save you a lot of money. A couple other tricks to save a couple bucks while you're there is you do not need to buy water. Actually, even the water coming from the faucets are clean enough. You're not going to get sick. I bought a big gallon of water, which I usually do when I go to any country, and I was told that you could literally drink out of a sink, so I started doing that. Never got sick. So save your money with that. Only take Ubers. It's much cheaper to eat at the local sodas than at any restaurant. And even local food at the restaurants is a lot cheaper. Like they have they like doing their chicken and rice with like peas and everything in the rice, and that was my favorite dish while I was there, and it was really cheap. So eating like a local will save you some money. And from there, went back to this hotel called the Studio Boutique Hotel in San Jose, which was a cool hotel, and I had to get a PCR test. So I took an Uber to a hospital, and the PCR test was only $36.52. So it was very affordable, much cheaper and easier than what it was in Mexico a year ago. So that's something to consider while you're there. It might be better to figure that out. I kind of had to scramble and like rush to the hospital, unfortunately. So it was a little nerve-wracking, but it was really quick and efficient. From there, I went home, and that was the end of my trip. If this video helped you out or you liked what you watched, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back with more content.